or Dublin. Um, well, this is, what I'm going to talk about is a couple of old projects that kind of put me on, I suppose, on the map, really. And then the rest of the stuff is work that I've done over the past 12 months. I've kind of changed the way I work quite a lot over the past 12 months, so it's kind of developed into lots of new areas. I suppose this is the first project that kind of brought me to people's attention, really. It's a campaign for the Hans Brinker Hotel in Amsterdam. It's officially known as the worst hotel in the world. So this was a poster campaign. I work a lot with an art director called Eric Kessels from Kessels Kramer. And it was basically Kessels Kramer do a campaign for the Hans Brinker every year. So it's a way of the agency to kind of do a nice project and then kind of talk about things that are going on and stuff. So this is one of the early campaigns. It's quite a horrible place to stay. It's kind of backpackers and students and stuff. Quite smelly. So I did this, I think it's probably 95, 96. So it was in the days before computers were kind of omnipresent, really. So all this was made using cut-out bits of type, kind of stuck down. Every one of those bricks I stuck down by hand, really neatly. I've stayed there a couple of times. It's not actually as bad as it looks. So this campaign became quite well known, especially in the advertising industry. So that was a kind of way in for me to kind of work on campaigns and stuff. So I think it kind of defined my style for quite a few years, that kind of photocopy, kind of stuck down kind of thing. This is another project. I did this about 5 years ago to start off with. Work hard and be nice to people. And it's kind of turned into a kind of mini phenomena, really. I originally did the poster just as a kind of little mail-out thing and just sent it to about 300 people. And then it kind of started to develop a little bit. The story behind it is I moved out of London about 5 years ago to a little village in Kent called Wittersham. And just by Wittersham is a town called Rye. And this is on the high street. This is Adams of Rye. And it's an amazing place. So when I got down there are all these posters all around the kind of local villages for like car boot fairs and stuff like that, and they're all printed beautifully. And I saw the typography and I thought I wanted to find out where it was done. So I went to Adams, and this is the back room. And in the front there's a shop selling, it's like a newsagent's really, and then in the back there's this amazing letterpress workshop. And it's just like it's a survival basically of how a local printers would have been. Like every town would have had a printers like this. But due to a mixture of kind of holding on to the kind of old ways and a kind of, I don't know, just a kind of value for older things, Adams has kind of kept this place going. And they do lots of local printing, like for kind of things that are going on around the place. So when I first went in, they had all this wood type that they hadn't really used for quite a few years. They hadn't, up until the time I went there, they hadn't printed any posters. for about 5 or 10 years, 5 years or something. So it's kind of, as you can imagine, it was like going into a kind of candy store, just kind of like looking at all this stuff and all this type. It's just incredible. So the first thing I wanted to do was make a poster, and I gave them the phrase, work hard and be nice to people. It was something that I'd overheard in a supermarket. I was stood by the checkout queue, and there was an old lady at the front of the queue talking to the checkout girl, and she said the secret to a happy life was to work hard and be nice to people. So the phrase just kind of stuck in my head for a while. So I kind of pick up little phrases and things that I overhear or things that I see and kind of use them as part of the work. But this one kind of struck a chord, I think, with a lot of people. So now the poster has been reprinted lots of times, and it's gone all over the world. We just opened a shop on my website, and immediately we just started selling the poster again. And it's kind of like, I think at this stage I would have thought everybody who wanted one's already got one by now, but still, people still buy it. And it's just got that beautiful feel. So I don't know if anybody else does this, but I occasionally Google myself on the internet. You know, perhaps once, twice a day, normally. And Google Images especially. So basically, these are all work hard posters that people have got in their houses. Some of them are framed really badly, and some of them, they've kind of cut the top off it. Horrible. And it kind of reaches all levels of society, even disaffected youths like it. It went on the cover of Wallpaper magazine as well. I've had lots of offers to kind of put it on different things like mugs and tea towels and stuff like that, and it's been ripped off quite a lot as well. But there's one thing that kind of stops me kind of exploiting it in that way, and it's kind of, I want to keep it special. And I got an email from a girl, and she'd had this done. And that's real. So it's like every time somebody says to me, oh, we'd like to put it on a tea towel or a mug, I always think about her thigh. And I think, you know, it's like she's got that on her thigh, she doesn't want it on a mug as well. So anyway, I've never met her, but she emailed it through and she said, I hope you don't mind. I said, a bit of the kerning is slightly off, but... So anyway, so that's kind of like a big project that's kind of, it's kind of got me to where I am, I suppose, really. This is a bit of light relief now. This was, I work with a kind of group of friends, really. We've all known each other from college. Oh yeah, I went to the Royal College to do graphic design, and before that I went to Leeds to do graphics illustration. So it originally started as a project for Diesel, the jeans manufacturers, and it was another Kessel's Kramer project. It was called Diesel Dreams, and basically I think they got a group of filmmakers to make a film about an aspect of the collection. So we were given a photograph of a model. He was lying on a ping pong table with ping pong balls floating around and his eyes shut. And it was our job to interpret his dream. So I don't know about you, but when I'm lying on ping pong tables with my eyes shut, I think about ping pong girl, Freudian slip, ping pong balls, little dogs, mountains, motorways, brutalist architecture, and Michelle. So anyway, we did the project for Diesel, and then we extended it into a full-length track, and it was released by a label called Sunday Best, and they're quite a trendy dance music label. So they said, would you like to make a video for it for absolutely no money? And we're like, yeah, of course. So my friend Paul Plowman, who's an amazing kind of animator, designer, he kind of made this video. I think we spent about a month on it. So here it goes. It's called Michelle Plays Ping Pong.
First of all, be comfortable. Lie back and listen to my voice. She pressed her body against mine, and I felt a thrilling excitement. Oh, you can't stop it now. Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Thank you. Well, that's what my dreams are exactly like. So. I've got to say as well that the music is by Malcolm Goldie. And he uses the name Daisy Daisy. Not quite sure why, but you know. So yeah, so those are Michelle, please. Those are three kind of early projects that have kind of they're like my three kind of favourite things that I've done really. So. Through Eric Kessel's, I've got involved in lots of interesting projects. This was, I think it was last summer last year. This project, it was in the south of Holland in Breda. There's a new graphic design museum, and when it opened, there were a few little big exhibitions, and there was this group show called the European Championship of Graphic Design, because the opening of the show coincided with the European Championship football. I've got no interest in football, so So it was kind of, I think it was a coincidence. So it was a group show, and there were designers from all over Europe. I think from England there was Scott King and Jonathan Ellery from Browns, and from France Antoine and Manuel, and lots of others. You can look it up on the internet. So anyway, the show opened, and the Queen of Holland came to open the exhibition, and it was my job with Eric to kind of show her around the show and everything, so that was quite exciting. So basically, when we got to the exhibition, it was like a completely blank canvas. They said to me, what do you want to do for the show? And I looked at the plan of everybody else and said, I'd like to do 4 white cubes stacked on top of each other, each one a metre square, and then I'll cover it with rub-down graphics. So when I got there, here it was, and it was amazing because that was a little scale model that I made of it. Because it was a graphic design exhibition, I used this really strong kind of graphic language of, I use a lot of this kind of stuff in the work. It's all very, very simple graphic stuff and words and type and simple colours. So I had all the rub-downs made. And it was just great. It was like a kind of making an installation in the space, really. I think sometimes the kind of process of making work is the work itself, and then what's left over at the end is the sort of the evidence of what you've done. So when you're actually making it, it's still kind of open-ended, and then when it's actually finished, it almost feels a bit kind of weird sometimes. I did a big wall thing as well. This kind of like smiley mouth and the kind of eye and all, it's kind of a thing I've used a few times. It's a bit of a reference to a Japanese artist, Tadanori Yoku. He's one of my favourite poster designers. Did amazing kind of psychedelic screen prints in the late 60s, early 70s. So I kind of sort of ripped it off, really, I suppose. But I really like it. So I made a print of this image as well, and then on the tongue there was a smiley face. And when the Queen came, she got a set of prints, and I gave it to her. It was kind of quite obvious acid house reference, and I think she got it actually. So this was the finished kind of graphic sculpture. I'm really into the kind of work from the 60s and 70s. I just love that kind of clean aesthetic. So I suppose it kind of harks back to, things like the, kind of Olympic kind of identities from that era, I suppose. So this show was in January this year. I was invited by an advertising agency called Mother, who they've got this huge building in Shoreditch called the Biscuit Building, and this is the entrance to it. So they were kind of opening it up as an exhibition space. So they asked me if I wanted to put a show on, and the space, it's an old industrial space, quite high ceiling. So it's quite, the actual wall space is not the main focus of the space really. So I went to have a look at it, and I knew I wanted to make some kind of sculptural piece, and I kind of felt as I wanted to collaborate. So I asked a designer called Michael Marriott to work on it with me. I've been a long time admirer of Michael's work. I just love his kind of stripped down aesthetic and his way of thinking, and he's a really nice bloke as well. So we did a show called The Right Kind of Wrong. The title was the thing that came first. Sometimes I kind of work from bits of text. It's a bit like the work hard thing. It's kind of text that kind of hangs around for a while. And I kind of like little phrases that kind of cancel themselves out sometimes. So I had the poster set at Adams, obviously, and this was the invitation. So with the invitation, I just asked them to use a different typeface for every line of text, and I gave them the text, and this is the layout that they did. I really like because I've worked with them for a long time now, it's kind of, I can kind of trust them to kind of do their thing. And I think when I work with art directors sometimes, and I feel as though the art direction's a bit too kind of heavy, it sort of kind of takes the fun out of it, really. So when I ask people to do things for me, I always kind of just, you know, whatever they do, I kind of accept it, really. So we built the exhibition as art and construction. So we knew we had to build something kind of freestanding. One of the first ideas was to make a kind of panel, a folding panel, and then we thought about buying a garden shed and putting it on stilts and painting it orange and hanging a light from it. And it was like a couple of afternoons and lots of cups of tea and digestive biscuits that we kind of came up with a plan to build a tower. So we kind of worked out all the plans, and we had all the pieces of wood cut to size. Michael did an amazing job of kind of planning everything out. So when it came to install the actual show itself, we had a weekend, and it was like putting together a giant Meccano. I think it's one of the best weekends I've ever had. And there's lots of kind of rubbing in of oil and sanding of things, and it was it's kind of like a big DIY project. So all the pieces of wood were, it was like I think they're all laminated onto MDF, and it was all lovely. So these are all the pieces, like big jigsaw piece, really. These huge panels. So that's when we were building the tower. So it all kind of locked together. It's just like a big toy thing, really. So that was the end of the first day. That was the Saturday, and this was the Sunday. So we started kind of finishing off pieces, and so the actual tower itself was just over 4 meters, and it was a hybrid of kind of like a siege tower, a garden shed, a kind of summer kind of beach hut, and it had lots of text kind of on the side of it. I'm kind of fairly cynical about the world of advertising because I've worked in it a lot. I know that sometimes, you know, it's kind of, you kind of told one thing and they kind of mean the other. So I think it's kind of like mild subversive kind of approach to put something like this in the foyer of an advertising agency. You know, knowing the difference between right and wrong, and think of your own ideas, and it was all in a way it was kind of a little bit kind of punk rock, I suppose. It's about as punk rock as I get. And there's Michael drilling the wall. I just love the way he's standing in that photograph. So that's the final tower, and it was on wheels, and you could sit inside it. And at the front, it had 2 little succulent pot plants. I'm not sure why. It just seemed to make sense. So we had a big private view, and lots of people came, and it was like a kind of, it was a bit of a, I always said this to my wife, but it was a bit of a kind of turning point for me. You know, it was like, I kind of thought, yeah, I'm going to do this kind of thing more often now. So from the exhibition, the Design Museum in London asked us to make a series of awards. Every year they have the Design Museum Awards. So there's a short list of, there's an award for each different category. So this one was product design. There's a little radio. I'll just go through them quickly. This is the Obama poster for graphics. This was a monorail for transport, for Italia. Architecture, this is an opera house in Sweden, I think. So basically, for each of the categories, I'll just whiz back. For each category, there's a big exhibition, and the judging took place, and then I think we had like about a week, perhaps 10 days, to make the awards. So rather than doing a kind of, Perspex brick, we wanted to make something that was bespoke for each winner. So we'd kind of worked out in advance kind of what we were going to do, but then when we actually were given the list, we were sworn to secrecy, and then we started making the awards. So for each thing, we took an element from the winning thing. So it was kind of a representation of each. So in a way, it was like a sort of mini version of the tower that we built together. So for this one, for the chair, it was like the little pattern that was on the chair. We just used that. And then this was the actual construction of them. Again, this was a weekend thing. So each little panel is just a little bit bigger than A4, I think. So they were all laser cut. So the typography was quite fine. So when the laser cut through, it was super fine. So you had to kind of sand all the bits off, and it smelt of burnt wood. And then we put oil into it. Michael cast these bases. They were rapid prototyped and then sand cast in brass and then finished to look black. So there's Michael on the right and his assistant, Kai. And it's just amazing kind of being in his studio, really. You can tell I'm in love with him. So that's how the actual awards worked. There was a block of Perspex, and then you could kind of see the colour coming through the cutout. So there they all are, like little kind of robots, like R2-D2s. So we went to the awards do, and everyone seemed very pleased with their awards. So this is another project that kind of hung around for a while. It's a regular shop sign, and I just swapped them round. And I made it into a little sign, and it went to like lots of different shops and things. People sold it, and then there's a shop in Paris called Colette, and it's a kind of fashion. It's basically, if you're in the fashion world, it's where the cutting edge actually is. They keep it in a box in the basement, and it's so sharp nobody can touch it. So that's where everyone in fashion goes. And they were having the shop was being refurbished. So I got an email from Sarah, who her and her mum run the shop together. It's an amazing setup because it's such an incredible place, and basically they live above the shop, and they stock it with the most amazing stuff. I think as a graphic designer as well, to go in there, you have to buy things all the time. So they're having a refurbishment, and she asked me to do the windows. So she'd got the sign, and she wanted to kind of use the sign as part of the windows, and then kind of develop it. So I kind of used the regular, on kind of building sites and stuff, you normally see all those signs, hard hats must be worn. So I used that language, but a kind of chic version of a kind of tidied up version of it. And again, just using a couple of colours. I always find it hard to use more than 2 colours. I have to really kind of justify using a third colour. And I never use full colour, really. So that went well. Everyone, it's quite nice. It's quite a contrast because it's on, like one of the main shopping streets, and all the shops there are very kind of high end, and right in the middle of it were my kind of super basic graphics. So after that, she asked me to do a show. There's a gallery space in the shop as well. It's it's such an eclectic shop, and I think downstairs there's a little cafe, and they have like 500 different types of water and stuff. So for a while I've been working on these really simple kind of neon, quite sort of 80s discotheque kind of pictures, and rainbows, and it's a kind of happy, kind of utopian feel to them, I suppose, really. Happy clouds and rainbows. I'm generally quite a happy person. So I had this set of pictures, and I wanted to, rather than just do regular prints, I knew I had to kind of do something that would be quite shiny and glamorous looking for the shop. So I thought about perspex, and I've always loved perspex signs and shop signs and all, just the kind of the purity of the colour, really. And so I got in touch with a workshop, and they make kind of regular stuff for kind of shop fittings and things. And I got in touch with the bloke. He's called Trevor, who runs the place, and he's like a DJ. He's an old raver, so he kind of he knew the vibe instantly of these kind of bright, flashy colours. So we made this little. It's only about this size, little kind of test version of it. So the back is like a solid panel of black, and then all the pieces are kind of individually laser cut and then positioned. So that was the test. And then we made large scale pieces. So this is, that was 3 meters long, and it took about 6 people to put it on the wall. So it's kind of super shiny. And it's quite funny because I work in a little village in Kent. It's all like our best friend's a farmer, and to go from being in this little village to go to Paris, where it's all super shiny and glossy, it was such an amazing contrast. So this is the installation, and those are the pieces that, when they were lit in the shop, they just kind of almost looked like they were backlit. So that was a really successful show. I really enjoyed that one. So this was, I think, just after that show. I've got an agent in America now, and I was invited to go to TBWA in Los Angeles. So this is a palm tree. This is the agency. I think it's just this most enormous kind of warehouse building. Los Angeles is a very strange place. There's kind of lots of basically motorways connecting places. So it's this. We went into this amazing space, and they asked me to install a show there. There's a basketball court in the middle of the building, and there's this little space. So because of the distance and the kind of logistics and stuff, I decided to do a print show. So I was given this wall, and that's me installing my own exhibition, kind of on this little cherry picker. So you pressed a button and it went off, and pressed a button and it came down. So I put all these prints up. But it's kind of like a little mini retrospective, really. This is very simple graphic stuff. I'm quite lucky having my initials being AB. It's kind of text things as well. Go everywhere, do everything. That's kind of one of my philosophies as well. I like kind of going to places and kind of doing stuff like this. It kind of, I think everything should be free. So it's all very positive. That's another Tadanori Yoku mouth. So, but yeah, life can be hard sometimes as well. It's kind of, I like to kind of play around with things a little bit. It isn't really hard. That's that landscape again. So these are all prints for the show. The wise owl. He's from a salt and pepper pot that we got in Rye. So he sits on our shelf. So this is another project. I think this was, this was kind of towards the end of last year. It was another Eric Kessel's project. There's a channel in Holland called VPRO, TV channel, and they asked him to make a project where it was a series of films commissioned by lots of different filmmakers to make a short film that went at the end of the broadcast of the TV station. So I think it stops broadcasting at midnight or something. So it's kind of it's almost like a kind of little chill out kind of moment. So the series was called Radio on TV, or in Dutch, Radio op TV. So basically, each filmmaker was given a piece of audio taken from the radio archives. So I was given an interview with John and Yoko that was on Radio 1, I think in the probably early 80s or whatever. So I did a bit of research. I love this photograph of them. So basically, it's just a piece of radio, and I made the film about listening to the radio while doing something else, and it's kind of like a few different levels of meaning that kind of work together. So it's just like a chill out piece, really.
I mean, the quotes are correct in Newsweek. It's just that the questions were rephrased. Yeah. So let's not perpetuate that underground. There's no underground about it. It was not underground at all.
We had a good time.
Yeah, we were having a fine old time. It's just that we were making no comment. When Elvis died, people were harassing me in Tokyo for a comment. Well, I'll give it you now. He died when he went in the army. So, that's when they killed him. That's when they castrated him. So the rest of it was just a living death.
You've said that you reversed roles, that John...
Yes, my dear.
Looked after Sean. How good a cook are you, John?
Not bad, not great. I mastered the art of rice. They say anyone can cook rice, but few can cook it well. I can cook it reasonably well. I can do fish.
You're a good bread maker, right?
I've learned to make bread, which I was thrilled with. I took a Polaroid of my first bread, There's these two I couldn't believe they came out like that. Because
in a good old macho tradition, I mean, you had to record it in history, you know what I mean?
I was thrilled, It is not macho. Anybody would. It was the first bread. It looked great, and it tasted good. I was pretty damn good at it. And so for about half a year or a year, I was providing the food for Yoko, the baby. Even the staff was eating. I was so excited that I could do it, that I would stop and bring all the staff in to eat lunch, But after a bit, it was wearing me out. I was thinking, geez, because life becomes, as most housewives know,
routine.
A routine of between the meals, you see. So people saying, well, weren't you thinking about this, that, and the other? You don't, because you think from breakfast. Once the baby's had the breakfast, they've had the breakfast. You've got about an hour. Well, before breakfast starts, you've got a little time to yourself, a coffee and a smoke or whatever, and then everybody comes out, wants to eat. Okay, feed them. You don't get a gold record. They just swallow it, If they swallow it, that means you were a hit. If they don't swallow it, it means you did something wrong,
But
so then you're thinking, what wrong? That's how I really feminized in a different way. And it was quite an experience. It was equivalent to, say, going to a monastery and withdrawing in that way, but not withdrawing to going to a Zen monastery or going to India to meditate, or going to Scotland and talking to melons or something, whatever they're doing up there in that famous place that's supposed to grow big veg or something. So in that way, it was a withdrawal.
So yeah, I think he lost it a little bit at the end there. I've been rambling, so I've only got 5 minutes left, so I've just got to kind of quickly whiz through stuff. This was a British Council project in Lisbon, This was during the summer. So they sent me out to eat pastries and do research for a project called, it was a big show called Experimenter. So this was the British Council part of it. So I went for a day to Lisbon and looked at the typography, and I found this set of stencils, and I made 2 posters in Portuguese and in English. Think about all you say, do not say all you think about. So it's a traditional Portuguese phrase. So then we made them into posters, printed by Steve, my screen printer, who lives not far from me. I like to kind of keep things local. The point of the exhibition was using local resources. I think they were thinking about the work I did with Adams of Rye. So then the posters were sent back to Lisbon and put back on the streets that originally give them the this was a show at Chemistry Gallery in London. So I kind of continued doing the Perspex stuff. So I kind of simplified the forms a little bit, and I kind of reused a couple of images from the Colette show, but I made them out of mirror. I wanted to make something that was even more glamorous than colour. I just love the intensity and shininess of the colour. So becoming more kind of abstract, I suppose, in the work. This was from the Colette show, a designer called Jenny Packham. She saw the Colette show, and we got in contact, and she asked me to work with her on a presentation of her collection called Pretty Girl #1, and this was part of Fashion Week. This was about a month and a half ago, I think. So the catwalk show, it was held in a TV studio in Covent Garden. So basically we built a catwalk for the show. So it used elements that I was working with, the kind of concentric circles and lines, but kind of scaled them up. And we used the colour kind of came from the collection. So it's amazing to do something on this scale. And the incredible thing was that all the work went into the show, and the actual catwalk show was about 10 minutes. So I'll just whiz through this. It just looked like kind of a kids' TV program from the 70s, I think. And that's the actual show itself.
These girls fall like dominoes, dominoes. These girls fall like dominoes, dominoes. These girls fall like dominoes, dominoes. As soon as I love her, it's been too long. Talks of future with you, case me in. Swallow my sugar, kiss and eat it alone. Hearts get light and smash any dreams of love. These girls fall like dominoes, dominoes. These girls fall like dominoes, dominoes. These girls fall like dominoes.
So I wanted them to use dubstep. I didn't really like that track. So this is the last thing. It's a sleeve for a band called Acid Wash. They're a German band signed to record makers in Paris. So I'm working on the entire identity for the band, the logo and the videos and all the releases. So we just made this video. It's 5 minutes long. Can we just squeeze the last little bit? it's quite hypnotic. And we finished it on Tuesday, so it's super fresh. That's the end.